Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for clicking on this video to watch. Thank you so much. Please, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. Don't forget to like and drop your comments for this video. So now, this style is a sweetheart neckline bustier. So it starts from the chest area. Now, the first thing we're going to do here is to minus 4 inch from the shoulder depth measurement. Remember, whenever you're drafting your regular blouse or bodice pattern, you start from the shoulder to place in every depth you want to place in for your armhole depth, bust depth, waistline depth. So, or in this case, we are going to minus 4 inches. You can minus 5 inches, 6 inches. It depends on how deep you want the chest area to be actually, or where you want it to start from. So we minus 4 inches, and then here we're placing our armhole depth, which is supposed to be 7 inches. And then after that, you place other depths like your under bust depth, waistline depth. You place your bust point. This is just basically how you place in your measurement for the regular bustier, but in this case we are minusing 4 inches. 4 inches. The other video I did on this before, we actually used our full bodice pattern from the shoulder, the full one, and then we mapped out the tube from it. But in this case, to make it much easier, we just went straight ahead to minus 4 inches, and that's it. So now, always remember, whenever you're placing the depth, make sure you start from that 4 inches. Always remember, don't forget. Now the edge of that paper serves as our, more or less like our chest line, just like it might have served as our shoulder line. So now we're going to take our bust point. On our bust point, we take our chest width as our apex nipple to nipple measurements, which is 4.5 on the bust point area, then 4 inches on the under bust and on the waistline. Remember, this is the way I draft mine. On the bust point, I place the actual apex measurements, and then at the under bust I minus half inch, and then place it also at the waist. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking the same 4 inches apex to apex measurement, 4 inches, and then here you come down by half inch at the bust point and go up by half inch, so the bust point area doesn't get too pointy, so that it does not get pointy. I repeat, on the bust point area you go down by half inch and go up by half inch, so that the dart doesn't meet directly at the point. So here I just connected our apex to apex line all through the way up. Now on that line, always make sure you go up by half inch and come down by half inch to avoid that pointiness at the bust point area, So I hope we are getting this first step. And always remember that the dart is usually the core of every bustier, every woman's dress. The dart, I can't overemphasize how important that is, and how important it is to accurately draft a dart, no matter how small or how wide, or whichever way the dart seems to appear on the dress. It's very important to draft it correctly. It's very important, because if not, the same way a dart can add beauty to the overall style of a dress, it can also mess up or spoil the beauty of the overall dress. So that's why it's very important to take note of every detail. Try not to make your darts too pointy at the bust point area. Try not to make it too puffy for someone with a small bust size. Try not to make it too small for someone with a big bust size. So that's just it. So here I'm just taking the dart measurements. You go in by 1 inch on both sides to get the dart leg. You go in by 1 inch. Now I'm sorry, on this part I made a mistake. You go in by 1 inch at the under bust on both sides, and you also go in by 1 inch on the waistline. Yes. You're not supposed to connect it to be pointy at the waist area. I'm so sorry about that, because if you do that, it's going to affect the measurement while placing the circumference of your waist measurement. If you try it this way, okay, try it this way and then you understand what I'm trying to say. So that measurement you're taking at the under bust, 1 inch on both sides, also take the same measurement on the waistline, 1 inch on both sides. Then connect it straight from the waist up to the under bust, and then from the under bust to the bust point. I'm sure you're going to get it. I know you're smart. You're going to get it. Yeah, you're going to get it. So now at the chest area, to get our darts, we're going to come out on both sides of the line. Now for the chest side, I'm going to increase the darts because I want the chest area to be firm. To make it very firm, you have to increase the darts. So you can do 1.5 inch on the side, on the armhole side, and then 1 inch on the center front piece. I don't know if you understand what I just explained. Well, you should put it on replay so you get it again. You place either 1.5 or 2 inches at the armhole side piece, and then you could place 1 inch at the center front side. The essence of this is just to increase the dart at the chest area to make it firm at the chest area, so we don't have that um flappy or open chest that we do have most times. The the chest area is supposed to taper nicely on the chest, on the bust. It's supposed to taper nicely. So the best way to achieve that is to increase the dart, and then make sure you sew it to be very fitted and firm on the body. So that chest area is going to be very firm and shapy and nice. So after having done that, you just connect the dart leg, connect it, and now take note of the bust point. We're not connecting it directly to the actual bust point. Remember, connect it to the 1 inch we came up by. Now you can see that that area is not so pointy as it's supposed to be. If we are to take all the dart legs to that actual point, then it's going to be very pointy. So now after that, after getting the dart legs, the next thing we are going to be doing now is to achieve our armhole. Now remember that we minus 4 inches from our shoulder depth measurement. Okay, now to make you understand this better, so here I just ruled out the actual shoulder line if we were to have a full bodice with a shoulder line. So that's just our makeshift shoulder line. I'm just trying to make you understand this concept very well. Now you remember, if you have your actual shoulder line, you're going to place your shoulder depth measurement, which is usually most times 8 inches, 7.5 or so, and then from there you place your armhole depth. So that's just the idea. I'm just doing this to make you understand it better now. So you place it and then you connect all the way up to the shoulder line. So now we're going to place our bust measurement on this line, on this armhole line. taking note of the dart difference. Take note of the dart difference. Make sure you place your bust, under bust, and waist measurements, taking note of the dart difference. Remember, for your waist, I told you to go in by 1 inch on both sides. Then place your measurements from there. So you place your bust measurements, then you add whatever dart you have there. If the dart rounds up to 2 inches or 2.5, you add it to the side and then add your 2 inches sewing allowance. I already done mine already. I did mine already. Plus 2 inches sewing allowance on the side. So now here, what I'm basically trying to do is to place our bust circumference. So how to do it is you start from the center front, you place your tape rule. The bust circumference is 10 inches. Then what we have here was 3.2, so 3.6. So from the first dart leg we stopped at 3.6, then we continue with the 3 points on the other dart leg, and then we finish it up to get our bust circumference, which is 10 inches. Then we mark it and add our 2 inches sewing allowance. The another way you can do it is to close the dart and place the measurement straight up. Close the dart and place it straight up. Very easy. So whichever way that's very comfortable or convenient for you, have at it. So the same thing we do for the under bust. You place your under bust measurement, taking note of the dart legs. You skip the dart legs and then finish up your measurements. So now after that, you connect the armhole, you curve it up all the way up like you do for your normal bodice. Now take note, this is a straight dart. This is not the princess dart which comes from the armhole. This goes straight up to the shoulder area. So I haven't done that. What I'm trying to do now is to determine the depth of the center front. So the depth of the neckline, the chest line. You could go deep, you could go deeper than this if you please. So I'm just doing 2 inches here. 2 inches. You could maintain the armhole line to be your actual chest line if you want it to be that deep. But if you don't want to really expose much, you just make sure it's not too low. Not too low, because if it's low it would expose a lot of cleavage. So now okay, I'm just, what I'm doing here is just to illustrate to you another way you can do it to get how deep it is. You can actually map out your actual neck depth and neck width like you do for your basic bodies. You map out your neck, and then from there you measure the depth you want to be sure of how deep it is if you're confused doing it this way. So then after that, you can connect it from that point to the center front to get the neckline. So you could go ahead and connect it first. Then after connecting, you close up the dart and finish it up. So you connect it. Remember, when you're drafting things like this, you have to close the dart after that, because you would notice that once you close the dart, the lines won't fall in place anymore. There's going to be misplacements of their positions, and if you don't do it that way, the implication is that when you cut it on fabric, and you join it, it won't align. That's just the implication. It would not align. But if you close it on paper and redraft or reconnect it, it's going to align. So by the time you sew it, it's going to be on the same level. You won't need to start trimming off the higher the higher side. So now I'm just going to go ahead and close the dart legs just to get that accurate chest line to fall in place. Close it, close it up. So then after that you just take your curve ruler and reconnect it. You reconnect it. At this point you just have to make sure you have a short curve ruler or something, because using the long ones won't really be convenient at this point. Now you can see the lines has fallen out of place. You can see where the chest line is right now. It actually went very low after closing the dart, while the other side is higher than it, and this one is so low. So now we have to reconnect to make sure it aligns. Just connect it. Now we can see the difference in the former line and the new line. You can see the former line is very low and the new one went higher, like by 1 inch. So we're not going to make use of that old line. You can actually just from the beginning just close it and then do the first line, but I did it that way so you will see the difference. So you're going to notice the difference in drafting it when it's open down and drafting it when it's closed. So now you see why it's important to close up the dart. You have to close it up. So now it's on the same level. So this is it now. We are done with the front part. Now before we go ahead to cut it out on fabric, we are going to work on the down part of the dress before cutting this out on fabric. That's another way I get to minimize the use of fabric or the waste that comes with cotton fabric. When you have something like this, you first cut out the down part of the dress, and then you make use of pieces that come out to cut the upper part in order to save more fabric. So now we already cut out the pattern, we've cut it out. So first we are going to draft the lower part and cut it out before cutting this upper part. So after having done that, we are going to fold the fabric for the back piece. So we are going to cut the back piece now. So now I folded the fabric already for the back to draft the back piece. So remember, for the front we minus 4 inches from the shoulder. For the front we minus 4 inches, so always take note of that 4 inch. Also for the back, then you place in your depth. We placed our armhole depth 7 inches. You go ahead and place your bust, under bust, waistline and other line depths that you need. I usually place under bust line for the back also, for that shaping and fitting. So most people don't use the under bust for the back, but I also use it. So anyways, after placing your depth, but always make sure it's from that 4 inches, so you don't make any mistake, because if you make mistake and you place your tape rule from the edge, you start from the actual edge, there's going to be confusion when you are trying to sew it, when you're trying to join it together. So you place your under bust and then waistline for the back piece. Now after that, I'm just going to go ahead and place my bust measurements. Oh, and take note, I already marked out the zipper allowance, 2 inches for the zip allowance. So it's from that zip allowance you place your measurements. Take note. So what I placed there was the shoulder depth, like the shoulder 9 of 8 inches. So okay, I'm just marking out the zipper allowance, a 1.5 inch zipper allowance, sorry. I'm marking it out for you to see clearly. I'm just going to roll it out for it to become visible. So it's from this zipper allowance. Always remember that the measurements are always going to start from. So the next thing I'm going to do is to do the waist contour. So we're going to go in by 1 inch on the waist line. From the zip allowance line, you go in by 1 inch, then you connect all the way up, connect it up. Now we already connected it. Now after that, we are going to replace our 1.5 inch zip allowance, 1.5 inch zip allowance, and reconnect it up. So now you can see the waist is already looking slopey. The waist area is looking slopey. That's because of the contour, the going in by 1 inch. And when you're cutting it, you're going to cut off that excess part that's out. Now this going in by 1 inch is just to make the center back go in smoothly, let it taper in nicely at the spine area. So by the time you zip it up, it's going to taper in nicely. So I already placed the waist measurements, under bust measurements, and curved out the armhole. It's just the same way we did for the front, except that we don't have that here. I didn't really make a fuss about placing that at the back piece. So you go ahead and cut it out. Cut it out. So after this, the next thing we are going to do is to cut out the back piece for the lower part. We also cut out the front pattern, which we already cut out earlier. So now this is the sleeve. This is our sleeve. Now because it is a puff sleeve, we are going to make our fabric to be very wide in depth. We are going to make use of our round arm measurements times 2. Our round arm measurements times 2. So always take note, at the upper part you add 1 inch or 1.5 inch allowance for the elastic, which we are going to place at the upper part. Then you measure the length you want the sleeve to be. So I'm just showing you the breadth of the fabric we folded in this 19 inches. So next thing we're going to try to achieve is our curve. You measure the curve on your bodice to know what you're placing here. Here in this case, what we need is 5 inches. So we place that 5 inches. Place the 5 inches and curve it out to get that armhole curve. So after that, we cut it out. We are going to be gathering the hem. This hem part, we are going to gather it. And then for the upper part, that is the armhole or shoulder part, we are going to be using elastic to bring it to the measurement. So here I'm just cutting it out. Now this is the sleeve, the upper part of the sleeve, the puff. Now to get the down part is just very easy. The cuff is going to start from the elbow down to the wrist. So for this, you just take note of the length of the upper part of the sleeve, so you know how many inches you're going to minus to get the remaining parts to make up the sleeve. The sleeve length, what we want to make use of, is 22 inches. So we already cut the upper half. Now we are trying to get the lower half. So measure what you have for the upper half. Take note of the allowances for the elastic. The upper part would have the 1-inch elastic band, while the lower part is supposed to be gathered, not having elastic. The lower part would be gathered, not elastic. It's only the upper part that would have elastic. So we have 13 inches for the upper half of the sleeve. Now the lower half, we're going to minus that 13 inches and then place it to get our 22 inches. So here's our 22 inches. Then you can add extra 1 inch or half inch for joining allowance, because you're going to join the lower part to the upper part. That's the lower half of the sleeve. You're going to join it to the upper half of the sleeve. So after doing that, you place your measurement for the elbow area. You place your measurement and then you place your measurement at the lower end for the wrist measurement, and then you connect it. It's just simple. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share to your friends. See you in my next video. Bye bye.